A Sunny Morning is a comedy of Madrid in one act by Serafin and Jacqueline Alvarez Quintero. The conversation between two 70-year-olds begins sarcastically with each other accusing other of encroaching of their private space. Gonzalo informed Laura that his cousin had gone to Seville from his hometown and then he came to Madrid. He had written many letters to Laura but no answer was received. Hello everyone, I'm Babita Tamaya, lecturer, Department of English, Vidhyaashram Pre-University College, the Temple of Excellence, Mysuru. In my previous revision class, I had revised the 4th chapter, Everything I Need to Know I Learned in the Forest. In my today's session, I'll be revising the play A Sunny Morning written by Serafin and Jacqueline Alvarez Quintero. So let's see the agenda for the day. In my today's session, I'll be discussing the synopsis, weightage of the prose, 1-mark questions and 4-mark questions. Serafin and Alvarez Quintero were the two Spanish brothers known as the Golden Boys of Madrid Theatre. A Sunny Morning is a comedy of Madrid in one act by Serafin and Jacqueline Alvarez Quintero. It's a humorous play which tells the story of Don Gonzalo and Donna Laura who loved each other on their youth and were forced to separate in life. Here, both the lovers were departed because of their parents. So they both meet at the park at the age of 70. The play begins on sunny autumn morning in a quiet corner of a Madrid park. Donna Laura, a handsome, white-haired lady of about 70, refined in appearance, enters the park with the help of her maid, Petra. So always she used to feed the pigeons with the breadcrumbs. So she tells her maid, Petra, to go and meet the guard because he was waiting for her. So before leaving Petra, Laura asks her maid to hand over the breadcrumbs to her hand because every day Laura used to feed the pigeons with her 3 handfuls of breadcrumbs. The first handful was the sparest, second for the gluttons and the third one for the smallest, that is the youngest one. When she was feeding the pigeons with the breadcrumbs, an old man of about 70, that is Don Gonzalo, enters with his servant, that is Benito, to the park. And he was a gentleman of 70, gaudy and impatient, and he is found to be an ill-tempered state at his first appearance itself. Because when he enters the park, as he had a joint pain, he was just dragging his feet, and the birds which Laura was feeding with, all the birds flew away from the place because he scared away the birds. So she just questions him, why did you scare away the birds? He says, I didn't scare away the birds. Like this, the conversation begins with Laura and Gonzalo. Moreover, the bench that he usually uses to sit during his visit in the park is occupied by 3 priests. So, whenever he enters inside the park, that is Don Gonzalo, he had a usual bench. He just tells Benito to see whether there is any place over there. Benito says there are no places, there is no benches vacant there. And Gonzalo says the usual bench which I sit, already it is occupied by the 3 priests. After some time, he just questioned Benito, just see that the priests have gone, but the priests are still sitting over there. The conversation between two 70-year-olds begins sarcastically with each other accusing other of encroaching of their private space. So here the conversation between Laura and Gonzalo, as I told, begins sarcastically. So she just questioned, why did you scare away the birds? He says, no, it's a public property. Now she questions the same thing. It's a public property. Why are you complaining that the 3 priests have occupied your place? And he says, I have not met you, we don't know each other, and I don't want to continue this conversation. Gonzalo complains that the 3 priests for having taken his bench and says, Laura, you senile old lady, you ought to be at home knitting and counting the beads. He's very angry with Senora, that is Laura, and he says, you Senora, that is you old lady, being too very old, the only work what you can do at home is you can knit, sit and sit and do the knitting work and counting the beads. That is all you can do at home, and I don't want to talk to you again. A pinch of snuff helped to clear their heads, and they find something in common with alternating sneezes of 3 times each. Donna Laura confides to the audience, the snuff had made peace between us. So what has brought peace between Laura and Gonzalo? It is a pinch of snuff. So when they met, both met at the Park of Madrid. When they met, they both started fighting. So now, before Gonzalo starts reading, he takes out a pinch of snuff and he just offers to Laura. Before taking, Laura questions Gonzalo, is it the good one? So Gonzalo says, yes, you will like it. And he questions, do you sneeze? So here, Laura and Gonzalo both sneeze 3 times alternately. So at last, what brought peace between Laura and Gonzalo? It was a pinch of snuff. Then Laura reveals that she lived in a villa, that is Marisela, near Valencia, one of the largest cities in Spain. Gonzalo is startled to hear the name Marisela. So after they took a pinch of snuff, when there was a peace between them, Gonzalo just says about him from where he was. Laura questions Gonzalo, have you been to America? So Gonzalo says, yes, I was born and brought up there. If I have not lost my memory, I can just recall there was a beautiful girl, and he just tried to recall her name, and he says that it was Laura Laurenti. When he took that name, Laura will be shocked to hear the name Laura Laurenti. And he also says that she was known as a silver maiden in that locality. And he then questions, have you ever been to America? So Laura says, far from America, there was a place known as Valencia. And Laura says she lived in a villa known as Marisela, which was far from Valencia. When she says Marisela, Gonzalo was startled. That it means to say that he was shocked. He then tells that he knows a girl who lived in that village, that is in Marisela, who was perhaps the most beautiful woman he had never seen. When she says Marisela, Gonzalo is just remembering about a beautiful woman or the girl over there. He also reveals that the girl's name was Laura Laurenti. Both of them, that is Laura and Gonzalo, both realizes each other to be the former lovers, but they pretend not to reveal their identities. When she says that she was a silver maiden, both look each other and they get to know that they were the former lovers, but both pretend and they didn't want to disclose their identities. Donna Laura was known in her locality as the Silver Maiden. She was as fair as Lily with a jet black hair and black eyes. She was like a dream. She was in love with Gonzalo, the gallant lover. So Laura is telling about the beautiful girl. She says that she was as fair as a lily. She had a jet black eye. She is just describing her beauty. And at last, she says that she was a dream. And she was in love with a gallant lover, that is Gonzalo's cousin. He used to pass by on horseback every morning through the rose garden and tossed a bouquet of flowers to her balcony, which he caught. On his way back home in the afternoon, she would toss the flowers back to him. So here, Gonzalo says, yes, they had a sad love affair. How he knows, in the sense, the gallant lover was his cousin. So he says, my cousin used to pass on the rose path every morning and toss a bouquet of flowers, where she used to catch that near her window, that is her balcony, and the same flowers was tossed back to him when he returns in the afternoon. And one night when his cousin was waiting to hear her sing, the merchant came there unexpectedly and insulted his cousin. So here, Laura's parents wanted her to get married to a merchant where she did not like the man. One day, Gonzalo's cousin wanted to hear her singing, so he goes near the window. By the time he reaches there, he finds the merchant unexpectedly, and the merchant insulted his cousin. So there was a fight between the merchant and his cousin, and there was a fight. The merchant was badly wounded, and his cousin was not ready to face the consequences of the duel, so he hid himself in Seville and later to Madrid. In the morning, his cousin hid himself and later he fled to Gonzalo's house. He took shelter in Gonzalo's house. He was very fearful to face the consequences of the duel with the person who was highly regarded in the locality, that is the merchant. Gonzalo informed Laura that his cousin had gone to Seville from his hometown and then he came to Madrid. He had written many letters to Laura, but no answer was received. So Gonzalo says, after reaching Seville, he joined the army and he had written many letters to your friend, and he says he did not get any response for that, and he thought later that he lost his love forever. He joined the army. He met a glorious death. While dying, he just held the flag of the Spain and he was whispering the name of his beloved, Laura Laurenti. This was the story told by Gonzalo to Laura about his cousin. And Laura questions, is it that you have told your cousin to forget my friend? Gonzalo says, no, I never told, but my cousin never forgot your friend. Even though he tried to communicate with Laura through letters, all attempts failed. Gonzalo, in despair, he had lost his love forever, joined the army, went to Africa, holding the flag of the Spain. He just whispered the name of his beloved. This was the account Gonzalo gave Laura about his cousin's life after the duel. Laura told that my friend waited for news for days, months, year, and no letter came. So Laura is telling, even my friend also waited for letters for months, years and year, for months, days and year, but she did not get any letter. Then one day she went to the seashore, wrote her beloved's name on the sand and sat upon a rock. The tides rose to the rock and swept her out to the sea. So even she was also swept into the sea. But in reality, after 3 months, Gonzalo ran to Paris with a ballet dancer and Laura got married after 2 years. The play ends with a promise that they will meet the next day with a feeling of harmony. Thus, there is a thread of humor running throughout the play. So here, after this, Laura questions Gonzalo, are you going to come tomorrow morning to this park? Gonzalo says, yes, of course, if it is a sunny morning, I'm surely going to come, and when I come, I'm going to get some breadcrumbs. When he says that breadcrumbs, she said that the birds would be very happy if you do that. So the play comes to an end. Both gets to know that they were the former lovers, but they don't want to disclose their identity. Even after realizing each other, they pretended to be not and framed stories about their own deaths. Laura poses herself to be the friend of the real Laura, and Gonzalo has the cousin of the dead Gonzalo. At last, what happens in the sense, when they were about to move away from the park, Gonzalo's servant Benito and Laura's maid Petra both enters inside the park. When Petra comes, she could see a violet flask. The violet flask was given by the guard to hand it over to Laura. When she gave the flask to Laura, while collecting, she drops few flasks on the ground. While departing, when she turns towards the other side, Gonzalo just tries to pick those flasks. When he was picking, she just turns and sees, and she says that yes, he was the man whom I loved. And he also gets to know, yes, she is the one. But both, before going, they just go back to their youth in imagination that he is passing on the horseback and she is standing near her balcony and tossing a bouquet of flowers. So at last, they smile at each other and they depart from the place, saying that if it is a sunny morning, surely I'm going to come tomorrow. So the weightage of this chapter is for 5 marks. You have 1 mark question 1 and 4 mark question 1. Let's see the 1 mark questions of this play. Who was Don Gonzalo's servant and Donna Laura's maid? Gonzalo's servant was Benito and Laura's maid was Petra. What does Laura carry in her free hand? She carried a parasol. Parasol, it is used as an umbrella or else as a walking stick. What did Donna Laura feed the pigeons with? Donna Laura feed the pigeons with breadcrumbs. Who had occupied Gonzalo's usual bench? Was occupied by the three priests. The benches here are public property. What brought peace between Laura and Gonzalo? It is a pinch of snuff. What was Laura known in her locality? She was known as the Silver Maiden. What does the gallant lover toss up every day to the Silver Maiden's balcony? It was a bouquet of flowers. What right does Laura have to criticize Don Gonzalo's action? So it was the neighbor's right, because when he did not have any place to sit, he just comes and takes the place where Laura was sitting and he sits to the extreme end. That is why she says that it is a neighbor's right. Because whatever the dust was there in his shoes, he started cleaning with the handkerchief. So she just questions, do you use your handkerchief as a shoe brush? That is the time he questions, what right you have to criticize my action? Mention one of the three birds for which breadcrumbs meant for. So Laura used to throw 3 handful of breadcrumbs. For whom? As I told, it was for the sparrows, gluttons, and the little ones. Where is the park in the play A Sunny Morning located? So it is located in the park of Madrid. Whom does Petra meet after escorting Donna Laura to the park? She meets the guard. Whom did the parents of Donna Laura want her to get married? They wanted her to get married to a merchant. Where, according to Don Gonzalo, did he spend his early youth in a sunny morning? He spent his early youth in Valencia. Where did the young man take refuge after the duel? As you all know, in Gonzalo's house. How old was Don Gonzalo when he first went to America? So when he first went to America, he was 6 years old. What, according to Gonzalo, should Donna Laura be doing instead of coming to the park? So being too very old, the only work what she can do is sitting at home, knitting and counting the beads. Now let's move on to the 4-mark question answers. What story did Donna Laura and Don Gonzalo remember about the gallant lover? The ways of Providence are strange. Donna Laura's friend had told her in one of her letters the story of the affair of sad love, which was truly romantic. Gonzalo's cousin, that is the gallant lover, passed on the horseback every morning down the rose path under her window. He tossed her balcony a bouquet of flowers and she caught them. The gallant horseman would return by the same path in the afternoon. He would catch the bouquet of flowers which she was tossing. But her parents wanted her to get married to a merchant. This will be the answer about the gallant lover. But her parents wanted her to get married to a merchant. At one night, the merchant who came unexpectedly when Gonzalo's cousin had waited under her window to hear her song. The merchant had insulted his cousin and they had been a quarrel and later to duel. The merchant was badly wounded. Gonzalo's cousin had hidden himself for a few days and later to fly. Moving on to the second question. What account does Don Gonzalo give Laura about his cousin's life after the duel? So what happened to Gonzalo's cousin after the duel? Laura Laurenti, cousin of Donna Laura, called the Silver Maiden. She was very unfortunate and had a sad love affair. Gonzalo told Laura that the gallant lover was his cousin. Laura told Gonzalo that they wanted to marry each other, but Laura's parents wanted her to get married to a merchant, but she disliked him. One night, when his cousin waited to hear her sing, the merchant came unexpectedly and insulted his cousin. After that, there was a quarrel and later to duel. His cousin hid himself and later he fled to Gonzalo's house for shelter. He expected the danger as he was fearful of the consequences of the duel with the person who was highly regarded in the locality. Gonzalo informed Laura that his cousin had gone to Seville from his hometown and then came to Madrid. After he came to Madrid, he had written many letters to Laura, but he did not get any reply. His cousin had never forgotten her. Gonzalo, in despair, believing that he had lost his love forever, he joined the army. Then he went to Africa. There in trench, he met a glorious death, grasping the flag of the Spain, whispering the name of his beloved Laura. This was the account given by Don Gonzalo to Donna Laura about his cousin after the duel. Next question. How, according to Donna Laura and Don Gonzalo, the sad love affair of her friend and his cousin ended? Again, for this answer, you need to write the story of both Donna Laura's friend as well as Gonzalo's cousin. Donna Laura told Gonzalo that her friend was very unfortunate and had a sad love affair. She also told him that the ways of Providence has changed. Gonzalo said that the gallant lover was his cousin. One night, his cousin was waiting to hear her sing. The merchant was unexpectedly there and he insulted his cousin. There was a fight and later to the duel. And Gonzalo was not ready to face the consequences, so he took shelter at Gonzalo's place for some time and later he went to Seville. After that, he wrote many letters to Laura, but he did not get any response. In despair, he thought that he lost his love forever. He joined the army and in the trench, he met a glorious death. Holding the flag of the Spain, he whispered his beloved name, Laura. This was the account given by Don Gonzalo to Laura. Then Laura told him that her friend went to duel spot and had written the name of her beloved on the sand. So what her friend did, her friend waited for your cousin's letter for days, months and years. She did not get any letter. Later, one day in the evening, she just walks to the sea and she writes the beloved name on the sand, kept a bouquet of flowers on the rock. When the waves came, when it was too very fast, rolling like a surf, even along with the bouquet of flowers, she was swept into the sea. This was the account given by Laura about her friend. And at last they say that they both met a romantic death. This is how the sad love affair of a friend and cousin ended. The next question. How do Laura and Gonzalo conceal their identity? For this answer, again you need to write the complete story of Laura and Gonzalo, that is about her friend and about his cousin. Whatever the answer I had discussed previous, it is the same answer, but where you have to write the introduction and the conclusion if this question is asked for the 6 marks. The answer would begin like, Donna Laura, a white-haired handsome, enters the park with the help of her maid Petra at the age of 70. She enters the park in Madrid and she takes the bench for herself. And before moving, she asks her maid Petra to hand over the breadcrumbs. This would be the introduction, and at last the conclusion would be like, Gonzalo and Laura, before departing from the park, Laura sees Gonzalo picking up the flowers which was dropped by Laura when she took it from Petra. So at last she realizes, or she says that yes, he is the one, and he says that yes, she is the one. Both look each other, go back to their youth, as if Gonzalo is passing on the horseback under the rose path and tossing a bouquet of flowers to her balcony, and she is catching it. And in the afternoon, again he is passing on the same rose path where she is tossing a bouquet of flowers. They'll just go back to the youth, remember this, and they depart from the place and say that if it is a sunny morning tomorrow, surely we are going to meet again. This is the answer you have to write for this question, that is, how does Laura and Gonzalo conceal their identity? In my next revision class, I'll be revising the poem When You Are Old. Have a good day. Thank you.